All right, everybody. Hello again. This is Miss Smith here. I am going to teach you all about how to identify the controlling idea within a story. Not just any story, though. We are focusing on informational texts this unit. So we're kind of switching over. We learned everything we need to know about fiction. So now we're moving to informational. Informational has an important word within it. It is the word inform. So, an informational text, the author's purpose for writing an informational text is always going to be to inform or explain to the reader about a topic. So, it's really important that you are able to identify the main ideas, which is what a paragraph or a few paragraphs is mainly about. And then, once you've done that, you should be able to identify this thing that we call a controlling idea. A controlling idea is a fancy way of saying what the whole selection is all about. So first, in order to get the controlling idea of an informational text, the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to actually read an informational text together and chunk it. So when we chunk an informational text, we're going to write 3 to 5 words of what the main idea is of each paragraph. Again, main idea is what the paragraph is mainly about. So let's go ahead and look at paragraph 1. And it says right here, step 1, cold read and chunk the text below. You are highlighting important details as you are reading, then writing the main idea to the side of each paragraph. So I'm going to get my trusty highlighter. If you don't have a highlighter, then you can just underline the sentences that I'm highlighting as we go. And we're going to look at paragraph 1 first. It says, in a world before COVID-19 restrictions, could you remember everything you did in a day? Do you remember every meeting, every date, and every event? Who did you meet and for how long? And could you confidently give that information to a stranger if it meant protecting the health of people you care about and the community? So as I was reading that, these are some important details I thought were significant for this paragraph. In a world before COVID-19 restrictions, could you remember everything you did in a day? Do you remember every meeting, every date, and every event? Who did you meet for and how long? And could you confidently give that information to a stranger if it meant protecting the health of people you care about? Wow. This is a lot of different, looks like questions that we call these rhetorical questions, meaning they're questions that they don't actually want you to answer. They want you to just think about. So it looks like all of these questions right here, the main idea of this paragraph, looks like it's all about how could you remember everything you did in a day? Okay, so it looks like the main idea of this, they keep asking us, like, could we remember everything that we did? And it right here, and could you confidently give that information to a stranger if it meant protecting the health of people you care about? Well, this is interesting. I wonder what this text is going to be about. If it's asking us all these questions, I'm going to infer that has something to do with COVID and remembering everything that you did and who you contacted, who you were in contact with. So let's look at paragraph 2 now. Okay, we're going to read paragraph 2, highlight any important supporting details, and then we're going to write the main idea of paragraph 2. Welcome to the world of contact tracing. Ah, okay, so this looks like what they were just asking us about in the last paragraph. This is an actual thing called contact tracing. It says it's one of the ways health authorities can monitor and slow the spread of an infection in the community. And it's now at the forefront of Australia's national response to the coronavirus outbreak. Okay, so right here, looks like the main idea of paragraph 2 is to explain what contact tracing is. Okay, so these questions were leading us into, have you ever thought about every person you've met and been in contact with? And then in paragraph 2, it talks about, well, this is an actual thing. It's called contact tracing, and it's a way that health authorities are trying to stop or slow the spread of COVID. So, and it looks like a certain country, Australia, is using this to stop the coronavirus outbreak. So let's look at paragraph 3 now and see what the main idea is in paragraph 3. Across the country, teams of doctors, nurses, and public health officers talk to COVID-19 patients. They're known as contact tracers. Their aim is to retrace a patient's movement and build a picture that might locate the source of their infection. The teams are also looking for any people that they might have exposed to the disease. So it looks like doctors, nurses, and public health officials are talking to people who have COVID, and their job, what they're known as, is contact tracers. These people who are talking to people who have COVID, and what they're doing is they're trying to go back and retrace patients' movements who got COVID and figure out the source of the infection, who gave them COVID. And notify people who may have been exposed to COVID who don't know about it, okay? So this is called contact tracing. So I'm just going to say the main idea of paragraph 3 is to explain the process of contact tracing and who contact tracers are. Okay, so I have the main idea of paragraph 1, 2, and 3. So now we got 2 is talking about what contact tracing is. 3 is explaining the process of contact tracing and who certain contact tracers are. So then let's look at last paragraph, paragraph 4, and let's figure out if we can get the main idea of paragraph 4. It says, I've been doing this job for a long, long time, says Sue Reed, a public health nurse with ACT's or ACT's Health Protection Service. By and large, most people are very cooperative. They know we are trying to help them and others out there. So Sue Reed is an expert, a public health nurse expert, and she says that she's been doing contact tracing for a long time, and most people work really well with her, and because they know that these contact tracers are trying to help them and other people who may be exposed to COVID. So this paragraph, I'm going to write out over here that the main idea of paragraph 4 is to inform how an expert, because Sue Reed is an expert, is to inform how an expert thinks contact tracing is beneficial. So, Sue Reed says that she's been doing this for a really long time and that most people really do work well with the contact tracers, so it's been going well. Okay, now we have all of our main ideas for every paragraph. Remember, I said you got to come up with what each paragraph, the main idea is, in order to get to what we call the controlling idea. So I'm going to kind of scoot down right here, and we're going to talk about what was the whole selection all about, because the controlling idea is the idea that controls the whole selection. What was the entire selection mainly about? So we're going to write right here, the controlling idea of the selection is to explain what contact tracing is and how Australia has used contact tracing to stop the spread of COVID. Okay, so this is all about what contact tracing is, the process of it, and basically how a particular country in general is using contact tracing to stop the spread of COVID. Okay, so we're going to see if our controlling idea that we came up with is the best. And we're also going to be able to support our controlling idea, meaning like back up our answer, by finding key supporting details that support that this selection was all about contact tracing and how Australia has used it to stop the spread of COVID. So we're going to find some really important key details, important details, not unimportant details, things that don't matter. And we're going to find those details and make sure that they are actually supporting that this right here is what this selection is mainly about. So let's turn the page to page 2. And we're on step 3. Identify supporting details that supports your controlling idea. Okay, so right here we have our controlling idea. The controlling idea of the selection is to explain how contact tracing is one way Australia is responding to the coronavirus outbreak. Look at us. We did really good on our controlling idea. So now we got to go back in the text and we got to find details that support that this is what this selection is all about. So let me go back, and I'm only going to help you with one detail. You're going to have to find the other 2 details on your own. So I'm going to show you how to find a key supporting detail right now that supports that this is the controlling idea of the whole selection. So let's go back to the text. Right here, remember I highlighted a bunch of details. So let's see one key supporting detail that I notice is right here when it introduces contact tracing is one of the ways health authorities can monitor and slow the spread of an infection in the community. Okay, that's a really good detail that I'm going to put in because it literally explains what contact tracing is. And since we said the controlling idea of the selection was to explain what contact tracing is, this detail is going to back up and support our controlling idea. So I'm going to write out this sentence right here. Okay, contact tracing. I'm going to right here. Contact tracing is one way, let me look at this, health authorities can monitor and slow the spread of an infection in the community. Contact tracing is one way health authorities can slow the spread of COVID. Bam. Okay, that's one supporting detail from our text that supports that the whole thing is about contact tracing and a way that Australia is responding to the coronavirus outbreak. So this is a really good detail. Your challenge now, your job, is to find 2 other supporting details right here, and you're going to write them in these boxes that back up that this is our controlling idea of the selection. Okay, your next thing that you are going to do once you have found those key supporting details and written them right here is you are then going to summarize. You're going to write a summary over the selection. A way that we write a summary for non-fiction or informational texts is different than for fiction texts. The way that we write a summary over non-fiction or informational text is different than how we write a summary for a fiction text, okay? So the way you write a summary for an informational text is your first sentence is going to be the controlling idea of the selection. So guess what? We already did that. So we can start our summary really quick. So we're going to write out the controlling idea. We're going to say that contact tracing is one way Australia is responding to the coronavirus outbreak. So that's the first sentence in our summary because that's what this whole selection was all about. The next 3 sentences. The next 3 sentences are going to be those supporting details